Welcome back, friends. You know, there are moments in the world of coin collecting when a simple piece of metal turns into a time capsule, a tiny artifact that carries with it stories of a nation, echoes of history, and the allure of hidden fortune. And today, we're about to dive deep into one such coin, a coin that, while seemingly ordinary to the casual observer, holds a legendary status among collectors, history buffs, and fortune hunters alike. I'm talking about none other than the famous 1776 to 1976 Bicentennial quarter. Now, you might have seen this coin before. You might even have a few tucked away in a forgotten drawer or your grandparents' old change jar. But what if I told you that some of these quarters are worth much, much more than 25 cents? What if a coin sitting in your palm held a secret, one that could fetch hundreds, even thousands of dollars at auction? Today we're going on a hunt not just for coin value, but for the incredible story behind this iconic American coin, from its historical origins to its surprising market value. From rare mint eras to the geographical spread of where these treasures are most likely to be found, and the myths that still swirl around them, we're going to unpack it all. So buckle up, because by the end of this video, you might find yourself rummaging through your own pocket change, hoping to strike silver. Let's start with a little background. The 17761976 Bicentennial quarter was minted to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the United States Declaration of Independence. Can you imagine 200 years of a nation's history captured in the palm of your hand? These quarters were released between 1975 and 1976, replacing the standard Washington quarter for a brief but monumental moment in American coinage history. But what makes these coins extra special is that they weren't just ordinary quarters with new dates. They came with a brand new one-time-only reverse design. Gone was the familiar eagle perched atop a branch, and in its place stood a bold image of a colonial drummer, representing the American revolutionary spirit. To his side, a victory torch encircled by 13 stars, each one representing the original 13 colonies. It's a simple yet powerful piece of symbolism that speaks volumes about the nation's birth and its enduring ideals. Now, what about the front of the coin? The obverse, as we call it in numismatics, still features the trusted profile of George Washington, but there's a twist. Instead of a single year, the date reads 17761976, a dual date that marks both the birth of a nation and its bicentennial celebration 2 centuries later. And believe me, this little change sparked more excitement than anyone could have predicted. But here's where things get truly interesting. Not all bicentennial quarters are created equal. In fact, there are different types, and knowing which one you have can mean the difference between a fun collectible and a seriously valuable coin. There were 3 main types of bicentennial quarters minted: the regular copper-nickel-clad business strike, the proof versions for collectors, and most excitingly, a limited number of silver-clad quarters. Yes, you heard that right. Some of these quarters are made of 40% silver. These silver-clad versions were minted in both proof and uncirculated sets, and if you've got one of these in your possession, you're holding something that's not just historically significant, but financially rewarding too. Imagine getting a quarter at face value that's secretly worth $10, $50, or even over $100 depending on its condition and rarity. Some mint errors, double dies, off-center strikes, or coins with unusual planchettes can fetch even more, sometimes hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. Speaking of rarity and value, let's talk geography. You might be wondering, where are these valuable bicentennial quarters most likely to be found? Well, while they were widely distributed across the United States, the highest concentrations naturally appeared closer to major mint locations. The US mint facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco were responsible for producing these coins, and each left its own tiny mark on the pieces. You'll notice small mint marks on the coin's obverse just beside Washington's ponytail. AP for Philadelphia, AD for Denver, and an S for San Francisco. Among these, the San Francisco mint is of particular interest to collectors. Why? Because this mint produced the coveted silver-clad versions, along with proof coins that are considered to be of higher quality. If you come across a bicentennial quarter with an S mint mark, you should absolutely take a closer look. Better yet, have it appraised. You might be sitting on a hidden treasure. But here's a fascinating nugget for you. While the US Mint officially produced around 1.6 billion bicentennial quarters, not all of them were created equally. Some early runs had sharper strikes, cleaner finishes, and better defined details. And in the world of coin collecting, those fine details can make all the difference. Even more intriguing, certain regions in the southern and western United States, particularly around old military towns, historic marketplaces, and coin dealer hotspots, have been known to yield higher than average finds of rare bicentennial quarters. It's as if certain parts of the country became unintentional treasure troves for these coins. Now, let's pause for a moment and talk myths and legends, because no famous coin is complete without its fair share of rumors. Some believe there's a secret stash of era bicentennial quarters buried deep in the US Mint's vaults, never released to the public. Others claim to have seen versions with double strikes, off-metal errors, or even coins mistakenly struck. on foreign planchettes. While many of these stories are likely exaggerated, it's true that era coins exist and can command jaw-dropping prices on the collector's market. In fact, a bicentennial quarter struck on a 90% silver planchette, an anomaly since the official silver-clad ones were only 40%, was once discovered and sold for a staggering sum. But beyond value, beyond rarity, this coin holds an irresistible, nostalgic charm. It was a coin born out of celebration, minted during parades, fireworks, patriotic speeches, and a time when Americans were looking back at their roots and forward to a new century. Holding a bicentennial quarter is like holding a tiny piece of that shared history, a connection to grandparents who lived through that time, or kids who traded these shiny quarters for baseball cards and bubblegum. And let's not forget about the international reach of this coin. Believe it or not, bicentennial quarters have turned up in change jars, antique shops, and coin dealers' collections around the world. From Canada to the United Kingdom, from Australia to the Philippines, coin enthusiasts globally seek out this iconic piece of American history. Its recognizable design and dual-date marking make it a sought-after curiosity even outside the United States. So how can you tell if you have one of these rare, valuable varieties? Start by checking the mint mark, then examine the edge of the coin. If it has a solid silver-like color without the telltale copper streak of a standard-clad quarter, you might just have a silver version. And if you have a proof coin, often shinier, with mirror-like surfaces, or one with an unusual strike or error, it's worth getting it authenticated by a professional coin grading service. Now, before we wrap up, let's talk about the current market. While regular circulated bicentennial quarters still trade for face value, uncirculated and proof versions can fetch anywhere from $5 to $15. Silver-clad quarters typically sell between $10 and $30 depending on condition. Rare errors, double dies, or extremely high-grade examples graded MS67 or higher by a service like PCGS or NGC can command serious premiums, with some reaching into the hundreds or even low thousands. And remember, the value is driven not just by rarity, but by demand, and bicentennial quarters remain one of the most beloved collector coins in the United States. So there you have it, a tiny coin with a monumental story. From its historical beginnings to its valuable variations, from rumors of buried stashes to worldwide collector fascination, the 1776 to 1976 bicentennial quarter remains an enduring symbol of America's past and a thrilling target for modern-day treasure hunters. Have you ever come across a bicentennial quarter in your pocket change? Or maybe your grandparents kept a stash of them from the 70s? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if you're as fascinated by rare coins and untold histories as I am, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this